My beloved wife cheated on me and my daughter isn't mine. How can I move forward as well as shake angry feelings? The duration of this discussion will be considerable. My wife and I have been married for 21 years at the time of writing. My assumption was that it was one of those miracle marriages since we never argued. I seemed to be the best of friends with her and so on. Our 15-year-old daughter received a 23 and me item as a birthday gift from a friend. We weren't connected, according to the information provided. She had me do a swab as well as her mother and her 14-year-old brother. She and I were the only ones who looked to be connected except from her brother. So I went ahead and had a paternity test done, and lo and behold, she was not my daughter. My ex-wife cried and pleaded for me to pay attention to her, but I had become indifferent to her pleadings and pleas. It's one thing to lie, but learning that the source of my life's illumination was not even slightly related to me was devastating. Don't get me wrong, I love my kid to the extreme. It doesn't matter what, she is still my daughter. My allegedly malicious impulses, on the other hand, are what I'm most afraid of. I've never been like this before, and I know it's because I'm upset, but I really don't want her to suffer any longer than she has to. The kids loathe her to the very core of their being. However, I am aware that she is still their mother, and I do not want them to resent her in the process. Her mother, father, and siblings are all mortified by her behavior. Her sister hasn't been in touch with her in a few months. We all grew up together, so it hit hard for everyone. Again, this makes me feel incredible, which makes me apprehensive since I don't want her life to be in shambles. But I can't help but smile when I realize that something in her life is about to come crashing down around her. Both of my children are now living with me since they do not have a positive opinion of their mother at this time. Because they are now refusing to speak with her, I am considering having the chat with them about this matter. That my daughter seems to be overcompensating for her daughterly obligations is the component of this situation that breaks my heart the worst. She expresses her affection for me on a consistent basis and is in many ways the perfect daughter. But I can tell she's doing it because she knows she's not biologically my mother, but she has to express to me how much she loves me as soon as possible. I'm going to talk to her about it as soon as I get home tonight, advising her that she is under no obligation to alter her behavior. I just want to know how to get rid of the feelings of despair and rage and vengeance that I'm experiencing, so that my children do not have to worry about school and adolescence. I want to continue to aid them in their future endeavors. Please, any advice you could provide me would be much appreciated. Story 2. My 27 male GF, 22 female of a year slept with another guy while we were taking it slow, a month into dating me. I've been dating this woman, whom I'll refer to as Jess, for more than a year. We started dating around Thanksgiving of last year, but it wasn't until about a month later that we officially announced ourselves to be in a relationship with one another. I fell in love with this girl right away, and we've become quite close since then, with plans to move in together in the not-too-distant future. The problem is as follows. In the midst of a small get-together with mutual friends, Jess and I happened to run into a guy. They exchanged a peculiar look, as if there was something going on between them, but I didn't pay attention to it since it didn't bother me at the time. The subject of Jess's recent date came up during the party, which coincided with the presence of a Christmas market in my town, and I had yet another inkling that something wasn't quite right with the guy at the moment. In the middle of the night, I got a text message from him. He had acquired my phone number from one of our mutual acquaintances, in which he stated, "Hey, I don't know you, but I thought you should know that Jess and me just after Christmas." When I confronted Jess about it, I could instantly see that she was becoming more tense. She confessed right instantly, despite the fact that she had a painful look on her face. She said she met this guy on Tinder and had a lot of with him before we went into a relationship with him. She added that she was unsure whether or not we would get together at this time, but that she felt terrible that I had found out in this manner. She indicated that she considered alerting me, but she was worried that doing so might harm our relationship. Before getting drunk and ignoring her messages that night, I informed her that I needed some time to think about things. The issue is that I feel extremely duped, and I'm really considering calling it quits on the relationship. Certainly, we weren't in a formal relationship at the time, but we had previously gone on a number of dates, and it seemed to me that we were well on our way to establishing a long-term connection. I, on the other hand, had no desire to pursue any other girls at the moment, since all I wanted was to be with Jess and nothing else. And she was clearly implying that we were in a relationship, as well as significantly hinting for exclusivity on her end of things. The second thing that makes me unhappy is that Jess made it obvious at this early stage that she wanted to take things physically slow until we got to know one another better before we started dating. But at the same time, she begins a relationship with a guy she met on Tinder. In response to my questions, she replied that it was different since she took it slow with me because she anticipated us to grow into a relationship, but that it was different with a casual because she didn't expect us to evolve into a relationship. 4. The life of me, that line of reasoning does not make any sense. In order to avoid upsetting my friends, I don't want to bring up the subject with them since I fear they will dislike Jess if we end up being together. However, I'd want to hear your perspectives on the subject. How long would you stay in a relationship when things were going well, but the beginning had been a touch shady? Update. I'm helpless in the face of this situation. What she did was awful, to say the least. Yes, I recognize that she did not precisely defraud the system, but she was well aware that I was looking for a true connection and that we were maybe on our way to achieving it. The problem was that she expected me to arrange and pay for interesting dates, court her, and demonstrate that I was deserving of her while she happily with randos who did nothing but. That's a joke, of course. It was discovered in a later conversation that her buddies had had some influence on her decision to act in this way. To allow herself to have fun and have her casual options open in general, but to make me work for it with me and show that I wasn't just looking for, but was also capable of being an attentive and loyal partner in specific situations, was my recommendation. The whole arrangement seems to be manipulative and nasty, and these were common friends who I felt were great people and who are now my friends as well, despite the fact that they were previously my acquaintances. I don't want to see any of those ever again in my life. Anyway, I realize this is starting to sound like a rant, but I was getting a little annoyed, so I decided to call it a day and move on. The actual split was a terrible experience for both of us. Despite the fact that there were no harsh words exchanged, Jess wept and we reminisced about some lovely times. I feel it is the most painful element of this situation, since I do not believe she is a bad girl, and it is possible that we might have had a bright future together if things had gone as well as they had in the previous few months. But, in the end, I feel I made the right decision. I want to be with someone who treats me with respect from the beginning, not with someone who manipulates me while playing games in order to have her cake and eat it too, as she has done. Now look at some comments. I, F26, strongly believe in not sleeping with someone outside of a serious relationship. Nothing wrong with that. OP is hurt by the inconsistency where she treated as something special to work for with him, but went out and had casual flings with other random dudes. Moral of the story is, if you want to be with someone, ask for exclusivity explicitly. No confusion or hurt feelings then. Seems like he did ask for exclusivity, and she did want it. OP mistake was in waiting around for her to make up her mind. You also want to be with someone with enough confidence to make her own decisions, and who lives her values, not her girlfriend's values. The blaming of the girlfriends is, to me anyway, another level of ugly. I'm sure they are just as awful, but good people don't let themselves get convinced to do things. That's not even an excuse. Imagine your wife/husband's important actions being that of their friends/family, not their own. Girlfriend. More like the friend group's diplomatic representative to you. You are basically dating a senate that decides the vote on key issues of your relationship, Elmau.